Hello viewers, today we are going to look at the different explanations that theorists have given us about the nature of intelligence. Interest in intelligence began in the early 1900s with the publication of a book by Sir Francis Galton titled Hereditary Genius. In the early 1900s, theories given to us by Spearman, Thurston, Cattell and Guilford explained the nature of intelligence in different ways. All these theories were based on factor analysis, which is a statistical procedure, and they sought to identify and measure a mental ability, which was how they conceptualized intelligence. The early psychometric theories of intelligence served two important purposes. They provided logical models of the structure of human intellect. They also established that intelligence could be conceptualized as comprising many separate abilities that operate more or less independently. Let us look a little more in detail at some of these early theories of intelligence. Charles Spearman, a British psychologist, is credited with giving us the first systematic theory of intelligence. He believed that intelligence is a general cognitive ability that could be measured and numerically expressed. According to Spearman, intelligence is made up of two components. The first is a general intelligence, which he labeled as the G factor, and a collection of specific intellectual abilities that he labeled as the S factor. He believed that we all are born with a certain level of general intelligence, and it is this general intelligence that underlies all our intelligent behavior. We also have specific abilities that are more useful on some tasks than others. Some of these specific abilities could be verbal, some of them could be mathematical, spatial or mechanical. If a person is born with a high level of G, he will exhibit high levels of this behavior in any of the specific abilities also. But he also observed that when somebody has an average level of G, they may yet have higher levels in a specific area of intelligence, such as verbal or numerical. The identification of a general intelligence factor was an important step, and most of the tests which were developed in the 1900s measured this G factor. Louis Thurston disagreed with Spearman's concept of intelligence as a unitary general ability. He conducted factor analysis and found no evidence of a G factor underlying intelligent behavior. He came out with a theory which was very different from Spearman's, which focused on 7 different primary mental abilities. Thurston believed that each of these abilities was independent, and if we wanted to measure or understand someone's intelligent behavior, we needed to measure each one of these abilities separately. These 7 primary mental abilities included verbal comprehension, reasoning, perceptual speed, numerical ability, word fluency, associative memory, and spatial visualization. So, it was Thurston who first spoke of intelligence as comprising different mental abilities. Guilford came out with the structure of intellect model. This was a three-dimensional model which viewed intelligence as comprising operations, contents and products. According to Guilford, intelligent behavior consisted of 5 kinds of operations which refer to what an individual does. These include cognition, memory, divergent production, convergent production and evaluation. He also spoke of 5 kinds of content which refer to the material on which the individual performs these operations. These include visual, auditory, symbolic, semantic and behavioral contents. The 6 kinds of products are the basic forms in which the information can be fit. These include units, classes, relations, systems, transformations and implications. When we combine these 3 operations, contents and products, we get 120 different mental abilities. He went on to explain later that intelligence consists of 180 different mental abilities. His model was indeed very complex and did not find much favor, but some aspects of the model have received a lot of attention. These include the processes of divergent and convergent thinking, which has relevance to education. Convergent thinking refers to logical step-by-step thinking, which is the favored mode of thinking in our educational system. But it is divergent thinking which leads to creative acts or inventions. Guilford focused his attention on the processes and knowledge structures involved in intelligence. Raymond Cattell gave us another theory of intelligence which broke down intelligence into 2 relatively independent components. One was fluid intelligence, which is like reasoning, and the other is crystallized intelligence, which refers to knowledge. Fluid intelligence is one's inborn abilities, largely determined by genetics and biology. It is a non-verbal and culture-free form of intelligence. This is related to a person's inherent capacity to learn and solve problems. Fluid intelligence is used in adapting to new situations. On the other hand, crystallized intelligence refers to our acquired skills and knowledge. It is what one has already learned through the investment of fluid intelligence in cultural settings. Crystallized intelligence is highly culturally dependent, and it is used for tasks which require learned or habitual response. When we talk about fluid intelligence, it could be the ability to perceive relationships or the ability to gain new types of knowledge. Crystallized intelligence, on the other hand, refers to the factual knowledge about the world, such as arithmetic facts, knowledge of the meaning of words, or the knowledge of state capitals. The concept of fluid and crystallized intelligence has been utilized to explain intellectual development across the lifespan. Crystallized intelligence remains intact in individuals through their lifespan, whereas we can see a drop in fluid intelligence in early adulthood. These factorial approaches, which we just looked at, given to us by Spearman, Thurston, Cattell and Guilford, failed to address the very important question of how people solve problems and interact effectively with their environment. They describe the different abilities that individuals have when they exhibit intelligent behavior. Modern psychologists felt the need to go beyond this and understand intelligence as a process. Two eminent psychologists, Howard Gardner and Robert Sternberg, gave to us two new theoretical models of intelligence, which look at intelligence as a process. The central idea of these modern theories is that intelligence reflects how individuals use their specific knowledge, strategies, and cognitive and metacognitive processes to be successful. What is it that makes one successful? This is what they address. They believe that intelligent behavior, as any other behavior, can be significantly improved through education and training. They also believe that intelligent behavior has a genetic component, but is determined by the cultural environment and the domain of specific knowledge available to a specific individual. For them, the most important aspect is to understand the fundamental processes that determine intelligent behavior. Let us now look a little more in detail at the two modern approaches to intelligence. We will first look at Howard Gardner's concept of multiple intelligence. His book by the same title evoked a lot of interest in this new concept. He outlined 7 types of intelligence, such as linguistic, logical mathematical, spatial, musical, bodily-kinesthetic, interpersonal and intrapersonal. He believed that these intelligences are distinctive from each other. Howard Gardner believed that a single number, that is a score on an IQ test, cannot adequately represent the complex and diverse capabilities of a human being, and hence he came out with his theory of multiple intelligences. Now, let us look at the different types of intelligences, the intellectual processes that underlie these, and the vocational end states. Some of these types of intelligences are what we consider academic intelligence, such as linguistic and logical mathematical intelligences. But the other types of intelligence are something which is not considered intelligence according to traditional theorists. Gardner believed that each of these types of intelligences were linked to certain parts of the brain. When we look at linguistic intelligence, we are referring to the sensitivity to the meaning and sounds of words, to the structure of language, and to the many ways in which language can be used. According to Gardner, this is linked to the left hemisphere and more specifically the temporal and frontal lobes. This kind of intelligent behavior can be seen in poets, novelists and journalists. Logical mathematical intelligence refers to the ability to operate on and to perceive relationships in abstract symbol systems and to think logically and systematically in evaluating one's ideas. This kind of intelligence can be seen among mathematicians and scientists. Spatial ability refers to the perception of visual spatial relationships accurately, to transform these perceptions and to recreate aspects of one's visual experience in the absence of the pertinent stimuli. This is linked to the right hemisphere, and examples of this kind of intelligent behavior can be seen in engineers, sculptors and cartographers. Musical intelligence refers to the sensitivity to pitch, melody and the ability to combine tones and musical phrases into larger rhythms, understanding of the emotional aspects of music. In the early traditional theories of intelligence, this would not be considered as intelligent behavior. Another modern view of intelligence is that of body-kinesthetic intelligence. This is the ability to use the body skillfully to express oneself or achieve goals, or the ability to handle objects skillfully. A dancer, an athlete are people who exhibit this form of intelligence. Interpersonal intelligence refers to the ability to detect and respond appropriately to the moods, temperaments, motives and intentions of others. A therapist, a public relations specialist or a salesperson would be high in this type of intelligence. Intrapersonal intelligence, on the other hand, is the sensitivity to one's own inner states, the recognition of personal strengths and weaknesses, and the ability to use information about the self to behave adaptively. This kind of intelligence contributes to success in almost any walk of life. Gardner added two other types of intelligence later. One was Naturalist Intelligence, which is the sensitivity to the factors influencing and influenced by organisms in the natural environment, such as those exhibited by biologists and naturalists. Spiritual Existential Intelligence refers to sensitivity to issues related to the meaning of life, death and other aspects of the human condition. Philosophers, theologists would be high on this aspect of intelligence. As we can see, this is a very broad view of intelligence, and Gardner's theory served to humanize or democratize a view of human intelligence. He stressed the importance of certain other components of successful functioning, and these were components that were overlooked in more traditional definitions. Howard Gardner's theory has evoked a lot of debate on what is intelligence and what it is not, but it is definitely explained to us that in different cultures, different kinds of intelligence may be successful. One of the important theories of intelligence based on the information processing in human beings was given to us by Robert Sternberg. He explains intelligence as the cognitive ability to learn from experience, to reason well, to remember important information and to cope with the demands of daily living. The information processing approach to intelligence focuses on the processes underlying intelligent behavior, rather than looking at intelligence as one or multiple abilities. Sternberg's theory is known as the Triarchic theory of intelligence and postulates that intelligence has three major components: componential intelligence or the analysis of information, experiential intelligence where we use previous knowledge, and contextual intelligence, which is adapting to the practical life situation. Analytical intelligence is the type of intelligence which is encouraged in the educational system. This refers to attempts to solve familiar problems by using strategies that manipulate the elements of a problem or the relationship among the elements. For example, when we are analyzing, comparing, we are exhibiting this type of intelligence. This refers to the componential aspect of intelligence. Experiential intelligence refers to creativity. It is used when we try to solve new kinds of problems that require us to think about the problem and its elements in a new way. For example, when we are designing or inventing something. Contextual intelligence or practical intelligence is when we try to solve problems that apply what we know to everyday contexts. Sternberg put a lot of emphasis on this aspect of intelligence. He believed that intelligence has not so much to do about what you learn in school as what you do outside in the real world. He believed that every individual has all these three types of intelligence in varying levels. The ability to be successful, which he believed was real intelligence, depended on the balance of these three types of intelligence in human beings. Sternberg's theory suggested that intelligence consists of complementary processes of critical and creative thinking as well as common sense. This common sense is what we would call as street smarts. His theory focused on the development of skills rather than categorization and classification of people based on their abilities. He recognized that intelligence is only one explanation of why some people succeed and why others do not. Thus, we can see now that intelligence has come a long way. The early theories explained intelligence as an ability in individuals, first thought of as a single ability and later broadened to include many different abilities. It has come from a psychometric tradition. The nature of intelligence has been explained in different ways, which include the examination of the processes underlying intelligent behavior. In spite of all these theories of intelligence which have been given to us by eminent psychologists, we are still trying to understand the nature of intelligence, how it contributes to human behavior, and what we can do to improve our condition.